First of all, remember the 2 ransom notes that came early on that went to the TV stations in Arizona? Those are the notes that we believe Savannah Guthrie was referencing when she said that she thought 2 of the notes were real and legitimate. Well, there was a Bitcoin account, and we've got some new information about a transaction in that Bitcoin account early on, and a note in the Bitcoin account specifically that seems like it's either from the FBI or from the Guthrie family. So I'm going to tell you exactly what we know, the new information about that coming up. Also, I'm talking to retired FBI agent Steve Moore, good friend of the show. You guys have seen him many times. But specifically, I'm asking him about what some of these profilers have told me.
Real kidnappers don't call the news. That's not an opinion. That's not a theory. Every FBI agent who has ever worked a kidnapping case will tell you the exact same thing. If you want money, you stay quiet. You go directly to the family. You control the information. You do not pick up the phone and call a television station. So let me ask you something. Why did they? Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is Savannah Guthrie's mother, and she has been missing for 80 days. In that time, the public conversation has been about ransom notes, Bitcoin wallets, TMZ, a media circus so loud and so consuming that almost nobody stopped to ask the most important question of this entire investigation. What were they hiding while you were watching the letters? Here's what I'm going to show you today. First, the one piece of physical evidence that investigators quietly moved this week. The move that tells you more about where this case actually stands than anything law enforcement has said publicly in 3 months. Second, what criminal profilers say about who walked through Nancy's world without triggering a single alarm. Stay with me, because both of those answers point somewhere nobody has been willing to say out loud yet. There are only 2 explanations for why this ransom went public. Either the people behind it were amateurs who had no idea what they were doing, or the ransom was never the point. The noise was the point. The spectacle was the point. If something about this case has never sat right with you, you're about to find out why. Subscribe now and turn on notifications, because what's hiding behind the Bitcoin story is bigger than the ransom ever was. And while everyone was watching the letters, investigators were already inside Nancy's home, looking at something that had nothing to do with money. While the media circus ran, one piece of evidence was sitting in a lab in Florida, waiting. And this week, it moved. You remember the first promise, the evidence that moved this week. Here it is. A hair was recovered from Nancy Guthrie's home. This is not new. Investigators sent it to a private lab in Florida months ago, a lab the Pima County Sheriff's Office has used before, a routine relationship, a familiar process. But this week, that changed. That hair was transferred, not to another private lab, to Quantico, to the FBI's own forensic facility in Virginia, the most advanced DNA testing operation in the country. And investigators are calling it advanced testing. Think carefully about what that means. You don't send evidence to Quantico for routine confirmation. You don't transfer a sample across the country because you're tying up loose ends. You send something to Quantico when you believe what you're holding matters, and you need to know exactly how much. Retired FBI Special Agent Steve Moore spoke with investigative journalist Brian Entine about this development, and what he said deserves your full attention. When Nancy was taken, whoever did it leaned over that bed. And when you lean over a bed, when you exert any kind of physical effort at all, hair falls. It happens in restaurant kitchens. It's why cooks wear hairnets. It happens every single day, everywhere, without people noticing. Whoever was inside Nancy Guthrie's home may have left the most damning evidence they could possibly leave, and never even known it. Here is what makes the Quantico transfer significant beyond the science. The technology they're using now didn't exist 5 years ago. A single follicle, a partial shaft, degraded material that older methods couldn't read. Advanced testing can work with all of it. That hair has a name attached to it. Investigators may already know whose name that is. And the profile that FBI profilers have built around this case tells you exactly what kind of person that name belongs to. That hair belongs to someone, and 2 retired FBI profilers say they already know exactly what kind of person left it there, and why Nancy never saw them coming. You remember the second promise, the profilers. Here's what they found. Dr. Gary Beccattini walked investigative journalist Brian Enton through the data. Not theory, not speculation, data. 92% of women who are murdered are killed by someone they knew. Not necessarily someone close, not necessarily family, but someone whose face, on the day everything changed, did not make Nancy Guthrie afraid. There was no reason to be afraid. That's what made it possible. You would have opened that door too. Dr. Amber Burgess kept returning to one question, over and over like a compass finding north. Not who did this. Who benefits from Nancy Guthrie disappearing? Who is measurably better off with her gone? That question cuts through everything. Here is why it matters. 5 things investigators now know. Real kidnappers stay silent. Going public is almost unheard of in legitimate ransom cases. The Bitcoin wallet showed one transaction, February 10th, a small deposit, a note reading, "We are ready to talk." Then nothing. Surveillance footage exists. It shows someone moving through Nancy's property without hesitation. No looking over the shoulder. No visible calculation. Both profilers used male pronouns independently of each other, without coordination. Both profilers used one word to describe him, unafraid. Retired FBI agent Steve Moore told Enton exactly what that word means to investigators. Unafraid usually means overconfident, and overconfident people make mistakes they don't notice until it's too late. They sent ransom notes to television stations because they believed spectacle made them untouchable. They left a hair on an 84-year-old woman's bedsheets because they never thought anyone would look that closely. They were wrong on both counts. And here's what Dr. Burgess added. Something nobody wants to say directly, but that the facts keep forcing back to the surface. More than one person was involved, a blueprint, and hands. Both profilers independently use the word unafraid. Drop in the comments. What does that single word tell you about who this person is? Because it told investigators something they haven't said publicly yet. If the ransom was always a costume, something to dress this disappearance in while the real motive went unexamined, then the question was never who wanted money. The question is who needed Nancy gone. And that answer may already be sitting in a lab in Quantico. Go back to February 10th. Someone accessed that Bitcoin wallet. They deposited a small amount of money. They left a note. "We are ready to talk. Contact us," with a link for how to reach out. And then the FBI responded. Moore told Enton what that FBI response actually communicated. Not desperation, not compliance, a message. This is not a negotiation where you dictate terms. We are your only victim. You get nothing without us. We are ready to talk on our terms. Think about what that tells you about where the FBI stood on day one. Now pull everything together. The forensics say someone known leaned over that bed. The profilers say someone calculated walked through Nancy's world without triggering a single alarm. The surveillance footage shows someone unafraid. The ransom notes went to TV stations because this person believed spectacle was leverage. What emerges isn't a name, it isn't a face yet, but it is a shape. Someone with access, someone with motive, someone confident enough to go public, and arrogant enough to leave biological evidence behind without realizing it. Here is the detail that should stop you completely. The Pima County Sheriff has said almost nothing publicly in 3 months. The FBI does not transfer evidence to Quantico and brief families on infinitely small odds of recovery, Moore's exact words, unless they believe they are already close. Cases don't stay cold because the evidence isn't there. They stay cold because not enough people refuse to let them go quiet. If that matters to you, subscribe, hit the notification bell. When this breaks, you need to be here. Secrets with multiple owners don't hold forever. The profilers say the ransom was a costume. If that's true, what was the real motive? Drop your theory below. Every single one gets read. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 80 days. But somewhere in Quantico, a single strand of hair is about to make 80 days feel like a beginning, not an end. Strip away the Bitcoin, strip away the profilers, strip away the forensics. What you have left is an 84-year-old woman, someone's mother, missing for 80 days. Think about what 80 days actually costs the people who love her, not grief. Grief requires certainty that hasn't come, not hope. Because hope at 80 days is expensive in a way that has no name. Just the not knowing. 80 mornings, 80 nights. That specific, suffocating silence that never lifts. Somewhere in Quantico right now, a strand of hair is being processed by technology that didn't exist 5 years ago. Advanced testing, a follicle, a partial shaft, something that fell from someone who leaned over Nancy's bed and never thought twice about it. That person has no idea what's coming. This channel exists for one reason. Cases like this one don't go cold because the evidence disappears. They go cold because people stop watching. We are not stopping. If you've followed this case from the beginning, what's the one thing that never sat right with you? Tell me below, because sometimes the answer is hiding in plain sight. Nancy Guthrie deserves more than a number. She deserves an answer. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because when this case breaks, and it will break, this is where you'll hear it first.